Hi guys, welcome back to Real Talk with Soph. This is your host, Sophie. I have a really fun guest today. This is Raegan Howard, or known on Instagram as Raegan's Lens. I love you and your work. I have followed you, I think, for a while now, and I just love all your creative sessions, all the fun stuff that you're constantly doing, and so I'm really excited to have you on today, and I can't wait to chat just about all things photography. So I thought that we could start with a little bit of an introduction, kind of who you are, how you got started in photography, where you're based, what you specialize in, just kind of all the things about you. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm Reagan. I am based in South Florida. I do travel a little bit for photography. So I actually originally got started. I was working as a full-time ER nurse in South Florida, and kind of like always growing up in my life, like I've been really involved in like the arts. Like I played like the clarinet my whole life. I was set that I
Wow.
was gonna go. Yeah, I know. Yeah, crazy. I know I actually don't play anymore, which is really sad, but I played like
It's
my
really
whole
sad.
life. Yeah, I played my whole life growing up. And I was like set that I was gonna go to college. For music performance, and kind
Hmm.
of like right before college I kind of got like cold feet because I was a little bit worried about going to school for something like that just because of like job stability and everything. So I changed my major to nursing, which was like a little bit more, like, I guess you could say, sturdy.
Yeah,
um
absolutely.
I Yeah, I did listen to, like, other people did kind of convince me to change it, which at the time I wish I didn't listen to people, but I
Yeah.
was like 17, 18. I was young. So I switched over to nursing, and I did that throughout college, and then I started working as an ER nurse.
That's no
And
joke.
yeah, oh, it was no joke. It was really stressful.
I'm
It had its
sure.
moments. Yeah, I made like my best friends working there. Like I got to do amazing things, but it was really stressful. And then when I was working in like the, I guess you could say, the real world,
Hmm.
I wasn't I wasn't doing things that I like loved anymore, if that makes sense. Like I wasn't playing the
Absolutely.
clarinet. Like I was like kind of like, oh, I kind of want to get like back into something,
Yeah, have
versus
like a
just,
nice hobby.
yeah, have a nice hobby. So kind of my whole life, I've always been that girl wherever I go. Like I have my phone and I'm like taking photos of
Yeah.
everything, or I'm the girl on the trip who's like, oh, Reagan's gonna take my pictures this weekend. Like
Yep.
she knows the angles. Like that has
She's the
always been
girl.
me.
She's the
Yes.
girl to go to.
Yup. Yeah. And my mom had like a little like DSLR camera. It was probably like a
Hmm.
Rebel. And I'd always be like begging her, like, Mom, I'm going on a trip this weekend. Can I take your camera? So then, so then when I started working as a nurse, I had some extra money that I
Yeah.
had to buy a camera. And I originally wanted to take it on my travels because I was like
Hmm.
traveling a lot. And I was like, oh, I want like a nice camera to like take like good travel photos. So I bought a $400 camera off of I think NPB, the
Hmm.
refurbished website, and it was like a Canon 70D. Like it was a very, very, very beginner camera.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, so I bought it, and I literally remember I was in the shower and I was doing my shower thinking, and I was like, I could probably like make a little Instagram page and like take a few photos of some people, and that
Yeah.
money will pay off the money I just spent, the $400 I just
Yeah.
spent.
This I could get the money back for this. I could
Yep,
justify this purchase.
exactly, exactly. So I got out of the shower and I literally pulled out my phone and I made an Instagram.
That's so
It
funny.
it
That's
was
so
nuts.
funny. It's
So
that
yeah,
simple.
I made the Instagram, and I literally remember the next day I texted two of my best friends. I was like, guys, we're going to the beach tonight and I'm taking pictures of you. So we went to the
That's so
beach.
funny.
I didn't understand any of the settings. Like I didn't understand anything. So I was just like
Yeah.
taking pictures of them. Like we were all
And
trying
like
to figure it out
auto.
together. Yeah, yeah, it was an auto. Oh my goodness. I remember at one point the screen was just white, and it was because like my ISO was probably through the roof, and like my
Wow,
shutter
totally.
speed
Yeah, oh,
and I
yeah.
had no idea. Like I was on Google, why is my camera screen white? Like I couldn't figure it out.
What is going on? My camera's broken. I bought a camera that's broken. It's not working.
I was like, my screen is just white. So I figured it out eventually. But yeah, I took them to the beach and I took photos of them. I came home, I edited the photos, and I posted them. And literally the next day, a girl DM'd me, and she was like, I love your photos. My sister's going to get engaged this weekend. You're going to do her proposal photos.
Oh
and I was like,
what a jump.
I said to her, I was like, I'm so brand new. You don't even know, but I would love to do it.
This is the first shoot. This is my first, this is the only shoot I've done. This is it.
Yeah, and I told her, and she was like, it's fine. Like, I like the colors that you used with your friends, like, so I win. And I did it, and they were so nice. They were so much fun. Like, it was amazing. So, yeah, kind of like, that was, like, kind of like my first really, like, kind of paid gig. And and then in my college, we have, like, a college Facebook page. So a few of my family members who are like in the business marketing, I guess, area were like, you should just post a little like post in the PBA page, like, which is my college, like saying that you're looking for people to like practice photography with. So I did. Literally, I had 50 people message me. So I did like kind of 5 to 10 free photo shoots.
Oh, wow,
just to like find my style, have things I can post. And I did those, and kind of like ever since then, like I've really like kind of like had this business, which I've been super grateful for. So yeah, that was really long-winded, but oh yeah. And then I am originally from Philadelphia. So I feel like I always leave that part out. So I was born and raised in Philly. I don't know if I said it actually already, but
we discussed it prior.
Okay.
But we can, for the podcast, we're repeating it. Yeah.
Okay. I love it. Yeah. I have a little like ADHD. So,
yeah, totally. Me too. You're fine.
Yeah. So, so I'm originally from Philly, but yeah, now I'm down here. I'm based in South Florida, particularly like Palm Beach County area.
Yep.
So yeah, I love it. But with that being said, with the free shoots, I think that that's like really important for people who are new. And like sometimes I see people who are new who maybe want to start charging right away, but I really think that those like 5 to 10, I might have even done like 15 free photo shoots kind of really helped me be able to learn and find my style without a pressure of someone like paying me, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So that was like very important for like the grounding, you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that I would definitely recommend.
I 100% agree with you that free shoots, I mean, heck, sometimes even still, like, I'm going to do a free shoot to do a concept that I want to do that I don't know if is going to work, and I don't like the pressure of being like, if I hate these, somebody paid for these, you know, at least when it's a styled shoot, you know that they're knowing that this is for you, this is not for them, they're just willing to be here and get photos in exchange. So what would you describe your style as, and how you kind of grew into that almost?
Yeah, so I would say that my style is definitely very unposed. It's really cinematic, if that makes sense. I like to like have like a little bit of like a vintagey aspect to that as well. So kind of with my style, when I first started photography, like I kind of knew, I didn't know like a ton about photography when I first started, but I kind of knew right off the bat that I loved colors. Like I love colors. I also love vintage things. I've been a thrifter my whole life. Like that has just kind of always has been me. I love nature. I love going on hikes. I love traveling. So that has always been me. And when I first started photography, like right away, I didn't know how to translate that. So like at the beginning, like I literally remember I was sitting in bed and I was like, I need to figure out what my photography style is. And I was like brand new.
So late night thoughts.
Yeah. I was like on TikTok, like what are different photography styles? And people are like, this is bright and airy. This is dark and moody. Like this. And I would like look through all those videos. I'm like, I just don't like any of this.
I hate everything. I hate it all.
Yeah. So I was just like, I don't know. Like, so then I I was definitely seeing kind of people who do like the more cinematic photography style on my pages. And I was like, wow, I really like that. And then probably 6 months. So I would say the first 6 months of me doing photography, my stuff was a little bit more posed, but I think that was like I was new and like I didn't really found my style yet. So I remember when I was 6 months in, a model couple who is local to the area, they sent me a DM and they're like, hey, like we're starting to do model coupling. We're looking for someone, we want to see if you want to shoot with us. And I kind of had an idea in my head. I was like, oh, like maybe I should try and change my style up, because I was doing a ton of just like sunset beach photo shoots, but not like the cinematic kind that you're thinking of. It was more of like
just like
the pose. Like your typical.
I know what you're.
Yeah, and I was doing them every day, and like I didn't know it at the time, but like it just, I would go, but it didn't
it didn't light your soul on fire.
Exactly, it didn't. And that's kind of like my spot I was at the time. I was like, I just don't know what to change. So this model couple sent me a DM and they asked me to do a shoot. And I was like, honestly, would you want to do a library photo shoot? Like, I feel like that would be really fun. So I did a library photo shoot with them. And I would say it was like my first really kind of more cinematic style shoot that I did ever. And like, after that shoot, I was like, that's it. Like, that's what I love.
This is
like,
the style.
I love,
yes.
Like, I love, like, kind of, like, unposed, like, kind of, like, untraditional,
and creative, too, because the library is so creative.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was really kind of after that shoot that I, like, really kind of found my style. So then I was going through kind of a difficult period for a few months because my style was, like, starting to change on my Instagram. So I would get half people would inquire for like my Sunset Beach stuff that was like older that I was posting, and then like half of them were like more kind of seeing my newer stuff. So it was, that period was a little bit hard because I was like trying to navigate, like, I'd have to like do a session and edit a little bit differently and then do a more cinematic session. So that was a little hard, but
you had two styles going on.
Yes, I did. I definitely did.
People were like, what am I gonna get? Like, what am I getting out of this?
I just got to the point where I'd have to ask everyone to like send me a Pinterest board, which I still do, which is super helpful. But I would like ask everyone for a Pinterest board, and then like right when I opened it, I could like tell like what like direction the session would be in.
You should lean in. Yeah,
exactly.
Totally, I totally get that. That's so funny that you had two styles going. I do think that for people who, if you are listening and you are debating changing your style, it's so scary. I changed my style a little while ago and I leaned into that more cinematic look. And it was quite scary to, because you had people coming to you for the style that you were doing previously, because that's what's on your entire page. I had 4 years worth of like a certain style. And then I was like, oh no, I'm changing it. And so like, navigating that is interesting, but, I'm so happy that you changed it because your work is phenomenal.
Thank you.
So I thought today's episode, we could kind of dive into like almost like a back to the basics episode, kind of going over the fundamentals of photography. So camera settings, lighting, posing, creative shoots, kind of, how to navigate your basic necessities as being a photographer while also understanding how to, maybe lean more into a cinematic look, because those are different settings than what you would do for something that's more so bright and airy or, whatever. So if you were to, somebody were to come to you and say, what would be one thing that I should start with or kind of learn, about, what advice would you give somebody who, knew nothing about this and who's like just starting out?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, honestly. I feel like that's such like, you could unpack that so much.
It's such a broad question.
Yeah.
It's so
I love
broad.
it. I love it. So I feel like there's a few really, really good key points. And it's actually crazy because when I was new, I would hear other photographers say this and I almost wouldn't believe them. But now I know it's true, I guess.
Yep.
But I would say the first thing is like, you do not need to start off with a really expensive camera. Like, you do not. Like, I didn't start off with an expensive camera. I started off with like a $400 camera. But you absolutely do not need to start off with one. And I think a lot of people who are like newer or even just in general think like, oh, I have this really, I guess, more affordable camera. I'm going to get much better images if I just like buy a nicer camera. That is true. You can get like higher quality images with a better camera, absolutely. But I think that learning the basics is so, so, so important. Like the exposure triangle, lighting, composition, posing, even like editing. I think that all of that can really go a long way. So I wouldn't really recommend for someone to go buy like a Canon R6 Mark II as their first camera. I would say go, I would say go find something that you can afford, like out of pocket, and then do like maybe do a few free shoots and then start charging like $100. And then from what you earn from that, use that money to upgrade your camera. So
absolutely.
That's what I would recommend. And then also as well, I think that learning how to get the shot as close to how you want the final image to be in the camera is so important.
I say this all the time. I say this all the time.
Yeah, I think I've seen like sometimes photographers will like take a picture and they're like, oh, I'll edit it later, I'll fix it later. But I think that like taking a photo and being like, what do I want? What do I like when I'm editing? Like, what do I want from this is super important. And I think that that can be done through the exposure triangle, through using Kelvin, like everything like that. And I feel like once I started kind of thinking like that as I was shooting, like I kind of noticed a big difference because your edits should really, really, really just be tweaks of the image. And I know that there's other photography styles that like use like a whole bunch of like amazing color grading, but like I think in terms of cinematic style, you really want to get it to be as close as the image as you can with just doing slight tweaks. So I think that that's really important. So I remember when I was new and I just kind of started doing cinematic photography, I bought an ND filter for my camera. And I didn't really have the exposure triangle or even Kelvin like kind of mastered yet. So my images just honestly weren't looking that good with the ND filter. And they were not.
No doubt. Literally no doubt.
They were not looking that good. So I forget what photographer it was, but a photographer basically, like I was like looking through their either their Instagram story or their education, and I forget who it was, but they were like, don't buy any filters, anything like that without knowing how to take a good raw image. You need to know how to take a good raw image with nothing. No mist filter, no ND filter,
no
like
help.
nothing like that.
No additional
nothing.
Yeah, no additional help on it.
Yep. So I took the ND filter off and I spent months kind of learning the exposure triangle, Kelvin, RGB graph. Like I kind of took some time to like really learn that. And then once I felt like I was at a point where I had that, I then added the ND filter back on. So I think it's really important to kind of like, you know, learn the basics. And then like once you really learn that, then you could kind of like start adding. So yeah. And then I would say in terms of like posing and kind of couples, there's two really big things. One of them, I'm in like a group chat with some photographer friends and we talk about it all the time, how important outfits are. They're so important.
Yes. They are so important.
So important. And I didn't realize that when I first started. I did not realize it. And now I realize it. And what I do with everyone is I will send them a Pinterest link of outfit inspo. And also like in my email, like I will say things to avoid. I'm like, avoid like really harsh patterns, avoid logos, Like you don't want like Adidas like written like
You're
across.
literally.
Not saying I don't love Adidas. I do love Adidas, but in the gym, not for a photo
in
shoot.
In the gym for a run. Going to the grocery store.
Exactly.
For a photo shoot. Maybe we'll steer clear.
Yeah, unless it's like a sportsy Adidas photo shoot, but like cinematic in the field on the beach, no. But yeah, so I'll kind of tell people like avoid really harsh patterns, logos. I also have in there to like try and avoid super high heels, but if they want some photos in high heels, just bring like a change of shoes, because I kind of like say that like a lot of my style is running and like spinning and like, you know, so I do put that in there. And I have noticed ever since I put that in there, people like they'll sometimes bring heels, so they're like, I just want a few shots in these, and then like I have like better shoes that I could like put on. So I have noticed a big difference with that. And then in terms of posing, I guess something that I would tell like my beginner self is never like, I think it's so important to kind of feel the vibe of a couple, and then based on that, that's how you're going to direct them. Because if you have a couple who is maybe not that affectionate and they're not that touchy, you're not going to want to do a ton of cuddly, kissy, like rolling in the grass photos. Like you might want to do more like holding hands and running, or like playing tag, you know, like that. So I think it's really important to kind of feel out the vibe, get to know your couple. And I think it's also really important to like before you start shooting to like talk, like get them out of their shell, like, you know, so they feel comfortable. I think that's very important. I always bring a speaker too. I let them pick. Well, I let them pick whatever they want to listen to. Sorry, it's my cat.
The big fluffy tail. It's like, I'm nice.
Yeah. He's like, hey, when's my turn? Yeah. So I let them listen to music. I think that that's super important. Like I have clients all the time tell me like, oh my goodness. They either say, oh my goodness, I was hoping you would bring a speaker, or they say, oh my goodness, the music helped me so much. So I think that is like really important as well. Yeah, and then I think also like just going through the session, and instead of being very like, I guess you could say like proper and professional, like kind of more like treating them as like a friend, you know?
Totally. Yep.
Yeah, yes, I think that makes a big difference.
I think making your clients feel as comfortable as possible. Like when I shoot, I can be a lot, like in general, like I'm loud, I talk a lot, like that's just my personality. But I'm not gonna tone that back, because I think to me that makes people more comfortable, that I'm comfortable. You know, because your vibes are what are around you. And I always start all of my sessions with kind of like, I call it my pre-session spiel, because it kind of sets them up for what the session's going to be like from my mouth. Because I could say that in an email and it can be all over my website all day long. But like you have to communicate that with them in person. And I kind of am fairly honest, and I'm straight up with them that I'm like, you know, I can only capture what is happening in front of me.
Exactly.
So if you want to be more playful and you want playful photos, then we'll do that. We'll run, we'll play, we'll jump, we'll, you know, all the things. And that's where those fun, candid moments come from. But if that's not your vibe, you know, you don't have to be as playful. Just kind of do oh my gosh, I can't even talk today. It's not coming out. It's not coming out. I'm going to just change what I was going to say. Because I know I can't say it. Kind of doing whatever you want. I'm gonna give you direction. I'm gonna tell you what to do. But if you want to go in and kiss her, like I'll have couples sometimes that'll be like, can we kiss? And I'm like, just kiss. Like you can just kiss. Like you don't have to ask permission. You don't have to just do whatever you want. And sometimes couples, you know, really need that direction, which is totally fine. And then there's couples who, like I just had a couple, and I'm pretty positive I didn't have to direct. I don't think they'd ever gotten photos done before. But they just ran and they just played and they just twirled, and I didn't have to tell them to do a thing. And I was like, and that's their vibe. And they wanted those more playful, candid photos. So they did those things to make that happen. And so I was trying to tell couples, like, you know, I can only capture candid moments if you're being, candid. But I do agree that, I'm not very good about bringing a speaker to my sessions. I think about it every time I'm shooting, and I'm like, gosh, I really wish I would have brought my speaker, and I never do. And it's always on my list, but I don't. So for anybody wanting to lean into this more cinematic style, what would you say you would suggest kind of keeping your camera settings around? Because obviously it's such an expansive triangle. Like it's only 3 things, but those 3 things can really make, a big difference in how you're shooting. I mean, I know for me, the ND filter already helps the cinematic feel a lot more. So I will ride on that hill until like the day that I die. I love my ND filter. It changed my life. But with that though, you also have to know your settings, obviously. So like, what would you say for cinematic photos you find is more so your happy spot, maybe within your aperture or your Kelvin, or just kind of any of that realm? Like, what would you say is something that you maybe kind of keep your settings around on, or things that help you post editing, maybe like your color grid, or just anything like that, really?
So yeah, I would say for my aperture, I know a lot of photographers like kind of shoot with it wide open, but I kind of like to get some detail into the like shot, because I think that can kind of like help with the storytelling, especially if you're in like a beautiful location. So I would say a lot of times I shoot with my aperture like 4.5. But if I'm like really wanting to get like close in on the couple, I'll shoot at like the 2.8. So kind of just in the middle of that range. Sorry, my cat. He's wanting to be fat.
The tail is cracking up. It just comes in and it like does a little twirl, and then there it goes. He's just going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Oh, we're making it appears. Oh my goodness, look at that fluffy beast.
He just wanted to say hi. Yeah, so my aperture, I would say a lot of times I'm at 2.8, but if I'm like wanting to get like a little bit of a further shot and I'm wanting to include more of the trees and I don't know, the beach or the sunset, I'll bump it up to like a 4.5 or something. And then if like I'm wanting like a ton of detail in the shots, so if like the sun's hitting the water, or like where like there's beautiful mountains in the background, like I'll go all the way up to like 9 or 10 with the aperture.
Yeah.
I think that like for some reason when I was new, like I was so scared to touch that. I was just like so like, oh, I'm gonna shoot at 2.8 all the time.
You're kind of taught, in my opinion, at least when I was learning, when I was new, like to keep it as low as possible.
Yeah.
And now I find myself bumping it up and up and up. More so, I would say it was keep your aperture low. And so you don't have to bump your ISO. And I know for a long time I was really scared of my ISO and the grain and the noise. And now I'm like, I want it to be on like 4.5 or 5 or something. And I'm like bumping my ISO up and not being like scared of that. But I do think that that's something that they almost instill a fear in you, like if you bump this up anymore, like this is gonna look terrible, which is not true at all.
Exactly.
At all.
Yeah, exactly. So I will play around with my aperture like based on what I want to get from the photo, and then with my shutter speed, I typically, I don't have like a set range for that. It really depends on like the lighting, but I'll try and go. I used to like go all the way down to like 150, 100, but like I kind of noticed that I was getting a little bit more blurry than usual. Yep. So if I don't want the photos to be blurry, like the least I will go is like 250. And then like, let's say it's a little bit dark out. I'm at 250 and I'm at 250 for my, shutter speed and I'm at 2.8 for my aperture, then that's when I'll start to like, kind of play around with my ISO. But if I'm wanting kind of those blurry, like running motion blur photos, I'll go to like 1/50 for like my shutter speed, and then I'll adjust my aperture accordingly to that. Like you were saying for the ISO, Yeah, I was scared of that too at first, but I think that kind of not being scared of it, especially when you're shooting in low light, is like really important because you will get those like beautiful low light photos, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then for my Kelvin, I shoot very warm, like very, very, very warm. Um, I I'm probably, I would say most of the time shooting between like 6,000 to 8,000.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
But
me
if
too.
I go, yeah, if I go indoors, then I'm like shooting between 3 to 4,000. I bump it down a
Yes.
lot to.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. So do you play at all in your white balance grade to kind of, I'm a big believer in getting your tones in camera as
Mm-hmm.
close to what you want your final edit to be. And while that's, all the time, not 100% achievable depending on, whatever the circumstances is, I will adjust my white balance grid to kind of like if I think their skin tones are too pink, I might like bump it back down to green a little bit. Would you say you play within that a little bit at all? Or do you kind
Yeah.
of color correct in? Okay, so you do. Yeah.
Yeah, I play around with that. What I will kind of do is based on the kind of setting, I'll like look in the
Mm-hmm.
camera to see like where it looks the best. I would say I stay a lot of times in the more of the green and the reds, and then also
Mm-hmm.
more of the green and the blues, just because I like to shoot a little bit more green.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, yeah, sometimes I do adjust it based on how if the colors aren't looking right. So I'll kind of like go around to all the boxes and
And see
see.
what works. I definitely
Mm-hmm.
think if you're new and you're wanting to start out, something to me that is really important is really knowing your camera. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to know why things work, like the actual technicalities of the things, if you don't want to. But kind of knowing how they work together to me is really important because if you don't, like we have such expensive gear in cameras and they can do
Yeah.
so much. Like this, if you're not utilizing this thing that you've invested into its fullest like potential, then in your I think that's something that you're taught sort of kind of beginning, like everything that you see is all about editing
Yeah.
and Lightroom and Photoshop and, that kind of side of things, which is so important. You have to know how to edit, obviously. But I think that's something that's not talked about enough really is really knowing your camera inside and out and not relying on the edit to fix you. You need
Yeah.
to know how to like take a scene that's in front of you. Like something I notice a lot like I'll be looking at a couple and maybe we're like in the city or something and I'm like why is their skin tone look like that, like what is it, and I'm like thinking on it and then I'm like it's the building behind them and then like I'll move them, but I also know how to adjust that in camera. Like I had one shoot and we were in like this cool little historic like town that's like near me and all of the buildings are like brick. And so their skin was really pink. And I don't mind like a small hint of a pink skin, but they were like glowing. And I was like, what is wrong? I was like, what is happening? And so I went in my white balance grade and I kind of backed off and they still glowed a little bit because obviously the sun was shining on the building and the building was reflecting on them. And it didn't really matter where they turned. There was all kinds of buildings reflecting on them, obviously. But I do think it's so important to really know your camera inside and out and how colors work together, and kind of back to what you said about outfits and how important outfits are and how like if you're like, to me this is not my favorite color combo, but like if you're in like blue and white in a green field, like you're obviously going to absorb all of that color and you're going to look blue and green. And so it's like really, like I always say, having kind of that contrasty color of like a warm brown or a yellow or something to kind of offset those harsh, green reflective tones. Because I like greens in my photos, like in the grass, obviously, but I don't want you to look, you know, like you're just like straight up green because that's what's reflecting. What would you say within your Pinterest board, because obviously we all send a Pinterest board to our clients and we're like, here's outfits that look fun and could be like more creative or maybe there's a small pop of color, but what would you say for those more cinematic vibes? Do you find certain outfit tones you do like certain tones better than maybe others? Obviously, like that's like such a broad question because all outfits are, you know, different. But would you say like if a client came to you and said like, do you have a preference on what colors we wear? Would you say that you have a preference on something like that?
Yeah. I would say 90% of the time. And I mean 90 because there is a few exceptions, but I would say a lot of times neutral colors look the best.
Yep.
Especially if it's more kind of like a not so styled shoot or like an engagement shoot or just on the beach or in a field or like something like a little bit more simple. I think that it's a lot safer to kind of wear those neutral colors. And I do like specify that when I talk to clients. However, like if a client has a very specific idea, a very specific Pinterest board, that's like maybe when you can get a little bit more creative with colors. And like what just like comes to mind is like if a client is like, oh, I want to rent a red vintage car, like, you know, then like you can like maybe like dive into like the colors a little bit more. Like they could wear like maybe some like soft yellows or like something to kind of complement that red.
Yep.
But or even like if I did a sailboat shoot a little bit ago.
I loved the sailboat shoot that you did. That was so good.
Yeah. And for that one, Laura was wanting to wear more like blues and whites to kind of like match like the ocean. So I think that there are exceptions, but I would say like most of the time it is like very safe to do neutral colors. But I also think like I don't think it's good for people to show up like wearing the same exact neutral colors. Like I think like they should kind of complement each other.
You need that contrasted color so it's not just like two people in white standing in like on a beach, like white on white on sand.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think like if a girl's like kind of wearing like a light brown or a beige and then the guy like wears like a dark brown top, like I think that can look really good.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of diving into a little bit, you're kind of the queen of creative shoots. Like I feel like you're always doing something that's super fun. Like your sailboat session was so much fun. I remember seeing those on I think you posted maybe the behind the scenes on your story, and I was like, I want to do a sailboat session so bad. What would you say, I guess for people kind of going sort of to the back to the basics also, I think it's really important to do those kind of creative shoots also to kind of learn maybe what you like out of sessions or kind of how to direct your clients into leaning into a more creative idea. Because I think that some people like obviously they don't know what they don't know, or you know, if it's not on your page, like obviously if you don't have any creative sessions on your page but you want them, obviously you need to have them so people can be like, oh my gosh, that's so much fun, or this is, you know, whatever. Would you say that maybe you have any sort of approach to creative sessions and kind of how you plan them out and how you think on them? Like obviously maybe you make like a Pinterest board, or any suggestions to anybody wanting to do creative shoots but they don't necessarily know where to start, because I do think that they can be kind of overwhelming if you're not used to them, or if you don't have like a solid idea in your head about something and you want to do something specific. Would you say that you would have maybe any advice for somebody kind of wanting to dive into something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that there's like kind of two different kinds of creative shoots I do. There's like one kind where like I'm traveling and I'm in a cool location and it's just like kind of like last minute. And like, for example, like I'm going to Tennessee this weekend for my brother-in-law's wedding, and I'm going to be in like a beautiful area. So I just posted a model call on my story. It's like, hey, like, do any couples like want to come with me, get creative? I don't have like a set plan really. Like I'll definitely like make a Pinterest board, but it's not like I have like everything planned to the T, if that makes sense. So that's like one kind that I do. And I would say that's more when I'm like traveling or something, like where I'm wanting to shoot in a location that I don't always shoot in. And then kind of my other route is creative shoots that are definitely like more planned, like down to like the exact like kind of shots that we want and the outfits. And that's kind of more like the sailboat shoot I did, the library shoot I talked about. There's a lot more plan that goes into them. I think that both kind of creative shoots are important because one of them, like you get to kind of just have fun. Like, you don't have a set plan, you don't have any pressure.
Mhm.
You're just like, all right, like,
Yeah.
and some of
We're just
my
having
best shoots
fun,
have
yeah.
been, some of my best shoots have been through that. Just like, all right,
Mhm.
there's this really pretty field in this area that I don't live in that I want to shoot at, and you just have fun. And like,
Mhm.
and then what I always do though with those that I say are a little bit more unplanned is I still will send people outfit inspo for that. Just so
Mhm.
like I kind of like walk them through like, hey, I'm not from Tennessee. There's this really pretty field I saw on TikTok that I want to shoot at. This is what I'm thinking for the shoot. I'm thinking I want it to be a little bit more whimsical and golden. So here's the outfit inspo. And then
Mhm.
I'll usually just ask them to like send me like some options that they have, and I could help them choose. And then the other creative route is a little bit more planned. Like the sailboat, like we kind of make a whole Pinterest board. We kind of talk about like
Mhm.
the direction that we're wanting to go into the shoot. Always when I like bring my speaker and I listen to music, I kind of like put on music that is similar to what we're shooting in, if
Mhm.
that
Yep.
makes sense.
Yep.
So I think that's really important. I'll also like sometimes if it's like a shoot that is like of like a certain theme or an idea, like I'll kind of like watch a movie like a night or two before to
Mhm.
kind of like
Yes.
similar
Yeah.
kind of mindset to set the vibe
Mhm.
for that. So yeah, those are like the kind of two different routes that I go. But I
Yeah.
don't think it should be overwhelming. I mean, it
Mhm.
definitely can be overwhelming, but it's important to not make it be overwhelming
Mhm.
because it's just the nice thing about creative shoots is that they're just supposed to be fun. And it's like, if you do a creative shoot and it doesn't go as planned, that's okay. You learned. And that's like the best
Yeah.
thing. Like I have definitely done creative shoots that it didn't really turn out the way I was envisioning it to. And
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Yep. Mhm.
it happened to me many times. And like that isn't bad because with creative shoots, like it's not like the client is paying. Like they're getting free photos. So there's not that pressure of like, like, oh no, like I just charged someone $200 and I don't love the look of the creative shoot. So there's not really pressure with that. So, and then you also learn. Like, I have done creative shoots, like I said, that didn't turn out the way I wanted, and I learned things. I'm like, oh, I learned. Like, I probably should have provided them a little bit more direction with the outfits, or
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
probably should have like put a little bit more thought into the Pinterest board, or I should have shot at a different time of day. So you learn things from it not going as planned, which I think is really important as well.
Yeah, I agree. I also think it's really what I really love about creative shoots, at least for me, is it kind of gets to showcase how far my brain can kind of go at a session and really like when you have a client come into you where when they're paying, obviously I kind of have my set normal things like that they can expect, and if we have the
Yep.
time or I feel like they kind of fit the vibe, maybe I'll make them kind of go a little farther. I might make them do something maybe a little bit more out of their comfort zone. Like I might have, like one that I've been trying to do lately, which has turned out fine. It's turned out great every time, but the girls are always hesitant, like say they're like running in a field and they're running like directly in front of me, like parallel to each other. And she does kind of like a jump or a, something like fun. They're always like, I hate this. But I'm like, this is how you're going to do it. And then I show it to them like on the camera after, and they're like, that was amazing. But
Mm-hmm.
I figured out how to kind of direct my girl into doing something like that at a creative shoot. And we played around with it for a really long time before I was like, okay, this is what looks really good. And then those photos, are hits every time that I have done them. But it kind of really allows you that space to get kind of weird with what you're doing without that, like, even though the couple obviously is like,
Yeah.
this is not comfortable. Like, this is so weird.
Um,
And like, I'll have ideas in my head about certain posing, like maybe the way that they're like sitting on the ground to make lines, but then they like actually do it, and I'm like, that doesn't look good. And I'm glad that I didn't waste that time
uh-huh.
figuring it out at a session that somebody else is
Yep.
paying me
Yep.
for that, like
Mm-hmm.
that certain hour,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's really important. It gives you that space to really showcase how creative you can be, and that gives trust. Like, I mean, obviously Instagram is like, in TikTok and Pinterest are our biggest, I mean, like they're our portfolio, obviously. Like, that is how people find us. That is how, you know, we are growing within our clientele and all the things. And having those creative shoots to kind of break up those normal, you know, your traditional kind of engagement sessions, because typically most of the time, at least for me, I get a lot of inquiries of those typical engagement sessions. So they're in like cream colors and they're like wanting like a field or a garden or something like that. And I feel like having those kind of creative things to break up your Instagram is also important. So people are like, oh, she can do this. Or she, you know, oh, which not all clients know this, obviously. But like, I can shoot at different times of day. I can do something that's more midday. I can do something that's maybe, what's it called? Like, gloomier or whatever. Like, it just kind of gives your portfolio that variety and kind of going along with social media in a little bit. Would you say something, obviously, like, you have only been doing photography for like a couple of years now, and you have grown amazingly. Like, your growth has, like, before, whenever I texted you at me in the podcast, I like did like a full stock just so I could, like, you know, have all the things. And I was like, in this, like, sort of small bit of time, like in like a broad sense of things, like small time, you have grown so much within like your, just not even like your shoots themselves, but like your editing and your creativeness that you've done and kind of getting out of the box with your sessions. But you've also grown on social media as well. So for, you know, somebody kind of when they're really at the beginning and they're really just getting into the basics of things, I think along with like knowing your camera and everything, knowing how to market yourself also is really important, because obviously marketing yourself is how you get clients and how you can continue to grow and learn within your camera settings and all of the things, obviously. Would you say you have any advice for somebody starting out kind of on the social media aspect? I know it can be so kind of overwhelming, and the things that we're constantly consuming all of the time can honestly be sort of detrimental to our mental health if you let it, you know, the comparison and imposter syndrome and, you know, just kind of everything within that like degree. Would you have any advice for somebody kind of on that aspect of things?
Yeah. I mean, I would say imposter syndrome is definitely real. I feel it all the time, so I totally get it. It also, like, I think it's really important to also like not compare yourself to other photographers, because we all have different journeys, and that's something like I still like find myself doing, to be honest. Like, sometimes I'll like compare myself, but then I'm like, you know what, like, I'm on my own journey. And I think that that's what's really important, is like just kind of, you know, something that always kind of like helps me is like I could be looking at like a great photographer and I'm like, wow, like they are so amazing. And then like if you start to like bring your own work down or something like that, like just look at all the people who like want to book with you because they love your photos. And I think that that is like an amazing thing that can kind of like help you get through that, if that makes sense. Like, not really compare yourself as well, because, you know, like, you have to be doing something right for people to like be like, hey, I love your photos. Like, I want you to be my photographer. So that's definitely something that I look at as well. And I think that it's also really important to kind of like put some separation with it and to also get inspiration from other things. I feel like when I first started, I was just kind of like looking a lot at other photographers and I'd be like, oh, they did this shoot, I want to try that. They did this, I think that's really cool. But I think kind of like putting separation in it and like either like going and working out or like watching cool movies, or like I love listening to music. Like, I feel like I get so much inspiration from music. So I feel like just kind of those things kind of like help my own creativity. So yeah, I would definitely say doing those things as well. Yeah, and also just like not really I guess you could say like comparing yourself to other photographers. I know that's so much easier said than done. So like I want to have like a better I want to have like a better answer than that. But
there's
like
no better answer than that, truly.
Yeah, I know. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I would just say like if you find yourself like comparing your work to someone else's, like just like sit down and be like, look at all these people who like want to work with me because they like my photos. So I think that that is like really important.
Absolutely. I think that sometimes you have to take a look. You kind of have to take a step back a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
be like, look at all these people who have come to me in their inquiries and they say, I
Yeah.
love your work. I want to book with you. I love your style. I love, like I have numerous times where I always ask my clients to send me any inspiration that they might have, whether it's a Pinterest board or just, like a basic kind of idea that they might have. And like a lot of the time, which it makes me so happy, like it doesn't get old anytime somebody says it, but when they say, your entire Instagram feed is my
Yeah.
Pinterest board, I'm like, "Oh, my life is made.
Yeah.
That's
Mm-hmm.
all I need to hear. Like, I love that. Um, and so it's so hard to not compare yourself where you're at in your journey, you know, kind of how long you've been in. Like, I've been doing photography for, well, everybody who's listened to my podcast so far knows this because I have said it every time, so I'm going to say it again. But I've been doing photography for 5 years, and I was 15 when I started. And it was really hard to not, like, I had to take a step back sometimes and be like, I'm only 16. I'm only 17. Like, I'm not gonna be, as far along. I've not been in this as long. I'm not even like an adult. I can't, like, rent out, like, I still can't rent a hotel room. Like, like I sometimes have to take that step back where it's like, I'm so kind of small, in this big world, and I'll get there, and growth takes time. And so, like, I would say for anybody wanting any kind of advice is like, growth takes time, and growth takes, you really have to want it.
Yeah.
You really have to every day wake up and say, I want this. I'm going to work for it. I'm going to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of absorbing everything. Like, something that I would say I've more so tried to do, okay, because we all compare ourselves, we all have imposter syndrome, that's so hard. But like, I kind of will take a look at people's photos that I might really love, and I'm kind
Mm-hmm.
of like, what is it about this photo that I like? Like, is it just
Mm-hmm.
because they're in, some cool place in the world? Like, is that why I like this? Is it kind of the way that the light's hitting, or is it what they're wearing, or is it the couple themselves? Like, what is it that I like about this, and how can I kind of translate that into my own work within the way that they've shot this? Not that you're copying them or wanting to create something identical, but it's like, what is it about this that I'm really drawn to, and how can I take those elements and kind of incorporate
Yeah.
it into my own work? Because when I started doing that, I started to notice a lot more growth, where it was like, this is why I like this photo, because I like the way that the light is coming from
Mm-hmm.
this angle and not this angle. Or
Yeah.
like posing, getting creative with that. And kind of sort of going along with posing for you, how would you say that you approach that? Because obviously cinematic style is more playful. It's more, I like to say cinematic is really kind of natural. Like, if you're watching a movie, and obviously movies, more of those romantic cinematic movies, when you kind of just sit and watch them, they're, even though obviously like they're like 100% being directed, because no movie is just like, completely improvised, but like
Mm-hmm.
it's very natural. It's very, just kind of like normal things that couples are doing. It's nothing too
Mm-hmm.
extreme. It's nothing too like almost too much. But would you say that, like, what would you say your approach to kind of posing is, and getting, variety within your galleries, but also kind of getting creative and kind of getting couples to be um more so like, gosh, the word's not coming to me right now, obviously, because the one time it needs to, it's not. But maybe willing to do some of those things, because obviously a lot of people who step in front of a camera are not models, they're not normally comfortable, they're not, this is not something that's normal to them. What would you say your approach to kind of that more natural, playful posing is, or if there's something of, again, like advice you might give to somebody wanting to pose your couples in that kind of way?
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of your approach to that, like, in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely say that I kind of like direct my couples versus like posing them, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So like at the
Yeah.
beginning of all of my sessions, like I'll tell my couples like, "Hey, I want you guys to pretend like you're out on a date. I want you to pretend
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not even here. I know it's easier said than done, but like I really just want you to focus on that. So if you guys want to kiss each other, give each other a kiss. If you want to do a
Mm-hmm.
spin, give each other a spin."
Yep.
So I'll kind of always like lay that basis at the beginning. And then while like I'm actually directing them and posing them, I just feel them out and I see what their comfortability level is. And then based on that, I'm able to recommend things. But what
Mm-hmm.
I always like to do is I always like to make sure that I get close shots, I get like middle ground, I get really far.
Mm-hmm.
So I try and get like a broad range of
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Yeah.
And I also try and get shots where they're super close together or they have distance between them. Like I think getting a range of all of that is really important.
Mm-hmm.
I try to get more kind of stills, like them laying in the grass, or then I try and get more motion with them, like running. So
Mm-hmm.
I think just kind of like a broad range of everything. I think right off the bat, when you're new, like it's going to be hard to come up with poses like that. So I think it
Mm-hmm.
just really comes with time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it could also just come with like either going on Pinterest or like watching movies or even just like I think it's really cool to like just in public like look at couples who aren't being photographed and like look at
Mm-hmm.
like what their natural like I guess
Yes. Yeah.
conversation is like with one another. Um yeah, so just kind of all those things. I do have like a little list actually in my notes app on my phone of like different kind of like prompts and
Mm-hmm.
directions
Yep.
that I like to use, like especially when I'm shooting weddings and it's like very quick and like if I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
if I like need help for a second, like,
Yep.
because I think that nerves are real, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep. They never
yeah,
go
so if I,
away. It doesn't matter how
yeah,
long you're doing this. You're always
yeah,
gonna have those just normal session nerves.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I do have a list of like different prompts. But I mean, I don't like first go for the list. Like that's just like if I need
Yeah.
help or something, or
It's your
I want to like
backup
see if,
plan.
yeah. So yeah, kind of like based on like their interaction and everything. So yeah, and I'll tell
Yeah,
them like,
totally.
don't look at me, don't look at the camera unless like I kind of prompt you to do so. So.
Totally. I definitely think prompting over posing is really important. Cause like I always tell my couples, like if you're sitting there standing like this, like you're gonna look like you're sitting here standing like this, so, be kind of just like, be okay being comfortable. Like I know this isn't comfortable. I know that this is not your normal. A lot of the times it's the guys who are not like as like obviously as comfortable, and so kind of directing them and being like, if you don't know where to put your hands, stick them in your pockets. If you don't know what to do with your, whatever, like spin her around or pick her up or just like lean in to kiss her, like maybe like her cheek or something. But I do think that gauging kind of where your couple is at and what their kind of personality is, I think that can sometimes come along too with kind of
Hmm.
doing almost like a little what I do is like a little stalk before their session. I might like
Yeah.
I like to follow all my couples on social media. And I'll
Hmm.
kind of like go through their page and kind of get a sense of who they are before their session, which sounds so creepy. But like,
No,
maybe
it's important.
if I see that they have couples, I mean, let me start over. If they have um photos, my goodness, where they're being more playful or they're maybe like, really loving, I'm like, okay, this is their kind of vibe. But if their photos are more so just like kind of standing there, and they don't seem super like loose and comfortable, like whatever, I kind of can get a gauge of that. But I also do think it's really important to
Mhm.
essentially like read the room before you start, and kind of play off of what you think that their comfortability is, and then knowing like if they look obviously super like weird and uncomfortable doing something really playful, you can kind of be like, okay, well maybe we'll just have them like lay in the grass now, or and also I think that something is important is knowing how to talk to your couples in that way without making it seem like you're redirecting because you hate what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like you have to be like, what I do is I kind of let them just like do it for a little bit, even if I don't think it looks good, or even if I can tell that they're obviously uncomfortable. I'll like let them complete it, and then I'll kind of move on to the next prompt. So it's not like, like you would never want to say to a couple, like that just doesn't, that's not translating right. Let's move on. And kind of knowing how to talk to your couples also is really important for people. And knowing that you can be loud and weird and extra, and that's okay because that's going to help your couples be more comfortable too. You have to be comfortable so they'll be comfortable. And I think, like you said this earlier, but being, kind of immediately being their friend is so important. Knowing like I had a girl a couple of years ago, after her session, she left me a review, and it's still like one of my favorite like reviews to this day. And she said, when Sophie got out of the car, she was immediately our friend. And that has always really stuck with me, because that's what I want everybody to feel like. Like I could literally make friends with a brick wall. Like obviously, like I could talk to like a rock and I would be satisfied. Like I'm like Tom Hanks in the movie when he gets stranded on the island and he sits and he talks to a volleyball for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like that could be me, literally. But I think that it's also just really important knowing, kind of, to me, that's more important over prompting and posing and those kind of things, is knowing that when your clients leave their session, they had a good time, they were happy, you laughed, just all of the things, obviously. But for kind of prompting, what would you say, like you said, you had kind of your basic list of things that you kind of do. What would you say that those prompts are, your basic ones? Obviously there's ones like walking towards me, walking away from me, running, maybe you're laying down, whatever those things are. But kind of how would you say, for anybody who is wanting to get into a more cinematic style of prompting, how would you say you approach those, and kind of almost how you word them? I mean, obviously, I'm sure you do this as well as I do, but like, I'll do it. Like, I'll act like, even though I don't have a person, I'm not like actually, running with somebody or twirling, I'll kind of demonstrate it ahead of time. But I think that's where sometimes photographers who are newer kind of get caught up, where they don't know how to almost describe what they're wanting, what you're wanting them to do. And so what would you say, if you have kind of any like tips or kind of verbiage almost that you use to kind of direct your couples to that more cinematic kind of style of prompting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really important. I think the first thing is like, it really depends on how you're going to prompt them, where you're shooting. So like I shot in a museum this past week. So the prompting and the direction for that is going to be a little bit different than if someone's on the beach.
Totally.
So it always kind of depends like where I am, but kind of with the terms of directing someone and using the right words, I will always try and like get my words out and like tell them. And if they're not understanding, I'll like show them. Sometimes I'll use an imaginary partner, but then like if I'm still doing that and it's still not looking good, I'll literally like ask the girl, I'm like, hey, like, can I take you? Like, can I be the guy? And like, can I show you? So I'll be like, okay. And we're like,
come here real quick.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I'll literally like take them and I'll like do it with her so they could both see it. But I mean, a lot of times with my prompting and my, like, I wouldn't even say posing. It's not so much like, oh, lay in the grass here and I'm going to take some photos. I kind of like I like to like paint a little like, I guess, a vision in their head. So, like, for example, I did a field shoot like a week ago and I wanted them to lay in the grass. But instead of me just saying, okay, lay right here in the grass, I was like, okay, I want you guys to lay in the grass. I want you to like to stargaze. It was daytime. But I felt like using, it
stargaze was the right terms.
Like, I was like, I want you to pretend like you're stargazing. Like, I want you to like point at like at different clouds that you see and like what you like about them. Yes. Kind of things like that. So it's not just like, all right, we're laying here in the grass. Like they're like moving around, they're talking, they're laughing, like just kind of like painting a vision in their head, I think is really important. Yes. And even like when they're like nice and close and I'm trying to get kind of those more close, like intimate poses, like I'll be like, okay, like I want you guys to whisper to each other like what you're most excited for, that you're about to get married, or like just kind of things like that to get like natural
have them
smile.
Kind of talking with each other too and stuff. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think kind of like painting a picture in their head. I feel like I'm always like saying like crazy things. I don't know. They probably think I sound crazy.
Totally.
But like, yeah, I think that just gets them a little bit more comfortable versus like, okay, do this crazy pose, you know?
Do
So
something really insane. You guys are gonna do something
yeah.
really insane right now, and you just have to do it perfectly because that's it.
Exactly.
No, gosh, no.
Exactly.
Well, and I'm
Yeah.
sure that you sort of do something like this, and I learned this term from another photographer I had on the podcast, actually, and I've started to use it, but almost like she calls it prompt stacking. So she'll take one prompt and then she'll kind of stack off of it. And I do that. I just never had a term for it, obviously. Like, I just did it. But kind of like giving them one thing to do and say, here's like, obviously, like, not like in this verbiage, but like, here's 5 things to do while you're doing this one thing. So, I'm like, say they're running through like a field. I'm like, you can run towards me. You can let go of her hand. You can spin her around. You can pull her in and pick her up and spin her. You can dip her, or like whatever the thing is, and you kind of give them, honestly, like sort of like it's like a prompt. It's like a prompt stack. That's the only thing that's coming to my mind right now to describe it even more. But like, that way they're comfortable, so it's not like they can't ever question what should I be doing here. Like when I'm doing something, like I don't know what else to do. You kind of give them a lot of different options. Like I really liked when you said, like, when you had them lay down, them kind of like pointing at the clouds and talking about what they like about them, and kind of looking at each other and kind of allowing that space for them to really be with each other, because obviously you're taking the photos, but the photos are of them and they're about them and their natural way of like doing things. Like I really like photographing my couples as they are, and as things that they would naturally do with one another. Like I always tell people, I use it as an example because obviously it's true. Like if my boyfriend and I were getting photos done, he would naturally, tuck my hair behind my ear. He would, rub my shoulders or, kiss my cheek or kind of put his hand on my face, or like something like I know that he would really do is like he would start randomly tickling me because that's just like what he does all the time. And so like for me, it's like, what are those, kind of think on those natural things that you already do with one another or you like doing with your partner. Like I had one guy and he really wanted a photo of it, which was super sweet. And he always loved kind of like almost like pinching her cheeks. And it sounds really weird saying it like out loud.
It's
but
cute.
Like that was something that he always like does to her. And so she wanted him to do that in their photos. And so I was like, exactly. Whatever these kind of normal things that you would do, just do them. Like you don't have to think too hard about what you're doing either, because at the end of the day, like if you're thinking too hard about it, you're gonna be obviously looking like you're thinking too hard about it. And I always say, like, everybody says this and it's so overused now, but like the weirder you feel, like the better it's gonna look. And
Yeah.
I definitely think like if you're kind of letting loose almost and not really caring what you look like, and obviously if you're on a beach and it's crowded, like that's not always like super comfortable to be the most, the most weird you can be. But also just like knowing like it's okay to do kind of whatever you want in your sessions is really important. So
exactly.
I think that's really where the cinematic style kind of lands, is like photographing things as they are, but knowing that like you had to get there. Like I think sometimes as photographers, it can seem really easy almost to sort of like a direct, but you have to really know like I'm really particular. And I did a shoot with another photographer not that long ago. Like I photographed her and her husband, and she said to me whenever we left the shoot how I was really particular about how I wanted them to look, how I wanted their heads to be, like when they were doing certain things. And this session was a little bit more posed. So obviously I don't do those things. Like I'm not that particular when you're being more candid, obviously. Like I can't be like, do that again, but do it this way. But I'm really pay a lot of attention kind of where they're sitting. Like if I feel like her head's like behind his a little bit more, I'm like, come forward a little bit. But she was like, I am not that particular within my sessions, but this makes me want to be. And so I also think that that's important too for your clients, and like you having like kind of a vision of it also, and knowing like how you want it to go. Because if you don't, like, I think that sometimes when you're new, obviously you don't know a lot about prompting or getting like new ideas and stuff in your, mind. And I see a lot of people in groups all the time being like, I don't know, like my brain just freezes and I don't know what to do, how to pose them or prompt them anymore. Like I've lost, like my brain's blank, And I think that to kind of counteract that is kind of like slow down. Like you don't have to fill your session with a million different prompts. You can just kind of like slow down and let it unfold naturally, and just kind of build off of like what they're already doing. If you had any other pieces of advice for anybody who is maybe not even just starting out, but just in general, that's nothing that we've obviously talked about because I've asked you that like 800 times today. But if you had anything else that you thought is important for anybody at all, just creatives in general, like, would you have any other kind of advice for anybody just wanting to do this, who's maybe already in this, wanting to kind of grow within their art, within, the creative sessions that they're doing, that kind of thing? Like anything else that I obviously have, I mean, I've already asked you this like numerous times today, but I'm asking again. If
No,
you have
it's all good.
else.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean, I guess something that's really important, I think, is to make sure that you are booking clients who are also like consistent to your style. Because I think for a while, like especially when I first started, I was just like excited to book anything and everything.
Yes.
And I was doing a lot of things that weren't necessarily really my style. So, I think that not everyone is going to be your client, and that is completely okay. Like the good news about that is there are so many photographers with so many different styles. Yep. So if I get an inquiry and it's a little bit more posed, or it's not something I do, like it's like a birthday party or something that I don't really do, I will like kind of, like I will send them in a different direction, but like I'll let them kind of know like what I specialize in, which is like couples and weddings and kind of cinematic photos. So like if they're like in the future wanting that, like I would absolutely love to work with them. But I think also like being new, or not even being new, just being like a photographer in general, like it is okay to not take every single booking, because that's how you're going to get burnout, is by taking every single booking and saying yes to things that don't necessarily align with your style.
Totally. I would 100% agree that it's okay to kind of say no. And even if it's a session where you just don't feel like, I think that something my kind of mantra maybe is like, I wouldn't want to know that somebody, isn't sort of comfortable photographing what I'm asking them to do. Maybe maybe it's out of their comfort zone. Maybe it's something that they really just aren't very good at. Like, I know that like big family sessions, like with like bigger kids, are not my thing. Like they're not my thing. They just don't ever really look good. Like, I know that they're not my thing. So I'm not going to take those, because I'm not going to give a product to somebody that I'm not 100% sure about. If I'm delivering it and I'm like, I just don't love this, it's okay to say no. And I think when you're kind of in the beginning stages of like learning, because the photography community has so much education on it, and a lot of people are saying the same things, and then a lot of people are saying things differently. And I know that something that I see all the time, even still to this day in groups, is like, take on everything, do everything possible, shoot it all, and then niche down. And I think that I didn't really approach it that way when I started out. Like when I was starting, I knew that I wanted to just do couples. Like that was it. That was my thing. I've known that the whole time. Like I never did everything to find what I wanted to niche down to. And obviously everybody has to find what they like, and not everybody just like knows that, obviously. But I will say I 100% agree with you that it is totally okay to say no to things, and you don't have to feel bad about it. Like,
No.
you know, you're okay saying, I just don't feel comfortable taking this on. I don't think this really aligns with how I like to shoot. And so I definitely love that piece of advice, because I do think it's really important for people to kind of build that backbone. You know, it's like you have to be strong. Like, if I had a piece of advice for somebody just starting out, obviously it's like, do free shoots, you know, be consistent, learn what you want to do, but it's also get a backbone. Like, you know, you're gonna be disappointed. People are gonna ghost you. You know, photos aren't gonna always turn out how you thought they were going to. And it's okay to have that kind of disappointment, because it's gonna help you grow even farther. So yeah, I think that it's so important to just, you know that it's your business and you can do whatever you want with it. And I think that's what makes every creative so individual, because like your photos, you obviously, if you go look at your page, which everybody should, if you don't follow her, you 100% have to, is you can obviously see your style immediately upon looking at it. And knowing how you shoot, the kind of couples that you shoot, like how you direct them and what they kind of wear and the location, and having that kind of variety with what they're doing. And so I just think it's really important to kind of figure out what you want out of your photos, and know that it's okay to say no to things that you might not necessarily do. And if you do take on something that you don't have to share it. I don't share every session that I do.
Yeah.
Not because I don't want to share them, but because like I'm really particular about my feed, because it's like my, you know, it's like my art gallery, you know, and so I align it the way that I want. But also there's things like if I do a family session, just because I do it doesn't mean that I'm gonna share it. And that's totally okay too. So, well, I'm so grateful that you did this with me today. I had so much fun chatting with you about all the things. I think it's so fun to just, even as simple as it is, to just kind of sit back and talk about the basics of things, because that can kind of get lost a little bit. And even people who are like seasoned, you know, it's okay to like kind of like go back to like the basics of things, and, you know, hit your triangle a little bit more, and you know, decide like, oh, maybe I want to like play with my aperture a little bit more, or you know, invest in kind of filters and things, because they can make a big difference. I did have a question, just out of curiosity, and anybody who wants to possibly buy an ND filter, what one do you use? What brand do you use?
Let me pull it up.
I think mine is the, oh gosh, what is it called? Mine's not coming to me either.
Mine is a weird name.
Yeah, what the heck is mine?
My Amazon card.
Oh, let's see. Mine is the K&F Concept. That's the one that I have.
Okay. Let me see what mine is. Okay, so the NG filter I use, it's a Pro Master 82 millimeter.
Interesting. Okay. And do you feel like yours has so like they're not technically supposed to have like a tint to them, but I definitely feel like mine has like a smallish green issue. Do you feel like yours has that also, or do you feel like yours is more strictly like ND, sort of like the sunglasses for your lens with no extra color tone to it?
So I would say mine has a like slightly green hue, but I did use a different ND filter previously, and I felt like the green hues were a lot more noticeable. So I feel like on the one that I currently use, it is pretty like more true tone than other ones that I've used before. But there is like a slight green tone. Yeah.
I gotcha. I might have you send me the link to yours. I love mine, but I feel like it's a little greener sometimes than I like want it to be, and I'm like, well, maybe I should invest in another one and just like see which one I like better, because obviously they're all so different.
Yeah.
So but yeah, anybody who's listening who's debating getting an ND filter,
they're great.
I will ride. I mean, I say this probably every episode now, like ND filter to the day that I die. I love that thing.
I love it.
So anyways, that I feel like that'll kind of wrap up the end of this episode. I'm so grateful for anybody who's still listening, because you've listened for quite a while now of us just yapping.
You. Yeah.
And I can't wait for more episodes to come, and I'm so glad that you decided to do this with me this morning, and
of course.
just chatting all the basics and all the fun things that come along with, photography. So, because I feel like you're the queen of creativeness and fun shoots and different lighting and all the things, and so it's so interesting hearing different perspectives, even though I feel like our kind of perspectives are pretty much the same, everything that you said, I was like, amen, like, yes, I do that. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. This was Real Talk with Soph, and I'll see you guys for the next episode. So bye.